What's up guys, Micah here, welcome to the channel. So what we're doing tonight is we are going to cut out the muffler on this new Dodge Dakota that we got, the 2001 V8. So things you're gonna need to do this job. What I will say first off is that we haven't even owned this truck 24 hours. So I always try and chop the exhaust within the first day of ownership. So we've got about an hour left before the 24-hour mark of ownership. So we need to work quick. But the two pipes I have to do this, so you're gonna need about 32 inches worth of pipe. These are two 18-inch pipes that I just got at the auto parts store. They're each about $10 each. So the first pipe is going to have a 2-inch inside diameter on both sides here. So it's kind of belled out, so that will fit over our factory pipe, which has a 2-inch outside diameter. So the second pipe that we get is just another 18-inch piece of pipe. So it has a 2-inch inside diameter on one side and a 2-inch outside diameter on the other side. So only one side is belled. So basically what we're gonna do is fit these pipes together, and then our exhaust is going to go on just in place of where the muffler was. So as far as tools needed to do this, you know, I do have 3 exhaust clamps. They're just for a 2-inch pipe. You know, these are about $4 each. So I have 3 of those because we'll clamp our pipes in the middle and then just one at each end. We'll have a tape measure so we know exactly how much to cut out beyond the muffler on either side. We have our good old trusty Harbor Freight Sawzall. This thing was like $16 and I use it for everything. We've got a little light here in case it starts getting dark on us, which I think will be just fine, but I've got that just in case. And then I just got a basic tool kit here, just because we'll use a wrench and a ratchet, well, probably just a ratchet actually, to tighten down those exhaust clamps that we got. But otherwise, I mean, not too much goes into it. We've got a local IPA sitting here for us for when we finish the job. So, first things first, what we'll do is I'll start up the truck so you can hear the exhaust, obviously before we cut out the muffler, and then we'll film it and show you the volume afterwards. So this is before we cut the muffler out. Yeah, so that is completely pathetic. I mean, it just barely whispers. I don't know what it sounded like out here, but from inside the cab, I mean, you just barely hear it. You see the RPMs go up. I mean, you can kind of hear the fan speeding up, you know, because it has a clutch fan on the front of the radiator, but just nothing. So let's get to chopping the muffler. All right, so as we're under the truck here, looking, so that's gonna be our rear axle. So looking at the front of our muffler, here is it right here. But looking at the front of our muffler, I see this style clamp on here, and it makes me think that the muffler was replaced sometime during the ownership of this truck. So maybe it rusted out, had a hole. So what we're gonna do actually is just make a cut on the rear of it. And we're gonna see if we can't just make a cut on the factory pipe and then slip the front of the muffler off. Because this clamp is broken here, as you can see. So we're just gonna cut the rear, I think, and then we'll measure it out about 28 inches from the front, and then we'll cut right there at about the 29 inch mark from the rear, and then we'll see kind of what things are starting to look like here. Well, and so I'm actually gonna come at this from the passenger side. I was thinking I would do from the driver's side, but that drive shaft is just in the way, and so we're gonna come at it from the passenger side here. I think I'll be able to, yeah, I'll be able to slip my saw up in here just fine. So I kind of marked it too on the pipe, right about at the mark that we wanna cut it. So we've got our gloves, we'll put our eye protection on, sunglasses. But yeah, I think we'll just make a cut here and then we'll start to fit things together and see what it looks like. You gotta plug in your saw, that's kind of key. All right, I've always got to make it difficult for myself. Line ourselves back up. Yep, there's our spot. Let's do this. Got our cut done. It's always kind of hard to start that, but then once it starts cutting through that pipe, it goes really fast. So we'll kind of just try and slip this off of here. I'm thinking we'll see if we can't kind of turn this muffler a little bit. Or maybe it is just absolutely going to be rusted on there. Which is fine too. Yeah, she's totally rusted on there. I can't twist it off. So we're gonna come at it here from the left side now and make our cut up in the front here. And yeah, we'll see what happens then. All right, so now we are laying on the driver's side. That's the rear axle. And we're gonna make a cut on that front here. I'll just set you back there. Hopefully you can see all the action. But we'll see what freaking happens. Obviously, I'll cut it as close as I can to that muffler where that seam is. So, and we'll just see if it drops right off. Take a look, make sure I'm lined up. Yep. Yep, that's the spot. Our blade snapped. So, we will get a new blade and we'll keep cutting. Huh. Well, that's never happened. Well, and that is why you always have extra blades. Slip this down in there again. All right. We'll try her again. That's funny. You know what? I'm gonna go without eyes because it's kind of dark up in there. And that's how it's done. So that came off pretty easy. We'll look at our cut. Yeah, everything looks good. So we got that whole muffler off and everything there. I mean, it was just rusted to that pipe, but we've still got plenty of pipe here left, you know, in front of this hanger to put, I'll kind of show you that. To put our pipe on. So there is our other spot down there, and that's what we just cut. So yeah, now we'll just put our piece of pipe up in there. You know, before we put clamps on, we'll kind of just fit it together and see how everything's looking. But yeah, gosh, I ran into so many roadblocks right there. Saw it wasn't plugged in, broke a blade. Normally it's a pretty straightforward job, but I don't know. The exhaust gods were telling us, no, don't cut it off in the first 24 hours. But we vetoed that. All right, so we got our two pipes here. Now what you always want to try and do is fit a pipe over this. Is not 2-inch. Oh my, we're gonna have to run back to the auto parts store quick. It is not 2-inch. That is, what size is that? Now we gotta measure. I feel like these Dakotas were always 2-inch. Am I wrong? Apparently I'm wrong. So that means we gotta return all of our clamps too. Wow. This sucks. Well, let's jump in the Rover and go get what we need. This is like the drive of shame. Like, why did I think that was 2 inches? It's 2.5. But that's what you get when you wrench on too many bikes, too many cars. You forget what the heck size everything is. Should have just measured it. But anyways, we're driving to the auto parts store, the drive of shame, to get the parts that we actually need. Hopefully they have the right size pipes in stock. Alright, we're on our way back. We got the correct parts. So everything should go great now. God. Alright, so we're back. We've got our parts. We're set. We're gonna jump under the truck. By now we probably will need our light, so we're gonna fire that up. Gosh. But we've got about 10 minutes to spare before the 24-hour mark of ownership, so no time to waste. All right, we'll get under here with our pipes. See how things are lining up. So like I was saying before we figured out we had the wrong pipes, so you'll want to have that pipe that has the larger belled ends on each side in the rear, because we want our exhaust flow as it's going back to always go in another pipe. Otherwise, it'll be more susceptible to leaks. So we'll use our pipe that we have the belled end on the front and then just the straight part on the back in front here. Actually, we'll just put these together as we slip them on here. Gotta see what stuff's looking like. So we're gonna have to stretch these just a little bit to get them in. But I think we'll be able to do it. Let me get our gloves. And I always kind of like those to be a little bit too long, you know, rather than too short. I'll give you a front row view up here. Kind of what we're doing. Let me adjust you just a little bit. Okay. You should be able to see everything, I think. Who knows? Not me. What do I know? Not too much, apparently. So we barely just slipped those pipes over the end of each other. But we always want those, you know, that to be a little bit longer than too short. But I think we'll be able to weasel these together here. If I were guessing, man. Oh, come on, baby. Come on. You can do it. You're right there. Yep, okay. Slipped in perfectly. God, that is so solid. We probably don't even need clamps, but we'll clamp it. Because that's what we do. That's the right thing to do. Now, since we're gonna do a body lift on this, let me turn you a little bit down the road. I'm gonna try and turn this rear pipe so that it's up as close to the body as it can be. Because otherwise, when we do our body lift, there's gonna be a huge gap between the muffler, or not the muffler, but the tailpipe rather, and the body. So I'll kind of twist this up so it's nice and close to the body there. And then that's kind of where we'll pin it. Yep, as close to that as we can be. That looks pretty good there. So we'll start throwing our clamps over here. So you get your clamp, and I always have it so the bolts then, or the nuts rather, that you put on are gonna be to the bottom. Just makes for the easiest installation. So first off, we'll just put this around our middle pipe here. We'll clamp these together so that we're essentially just working with one stationary pipe. Gosh, today is just the toughest day for me. Anybody ever have those where you just can't seem to do anything right? Can't even start the nut. There we go. Now where did my other nut go? It rolled off somewhere there. Okay, there it is. It's right behind you. Okay. We will get this exhaust job done. I tell you what, if it's the last thing I do, which seemingly it is going to be the last thing I do today, and we cannot start the nut. There it goes. My goodness gracious. All right, and get that seated right where we want there. Okay, we'll get our ratchet on it. And then you'll want to use a deep socket for those, just because, you know, as you tighten them down, then, well, you'll just need a deep socket for it. There ain't nothing else to it. And you kind of want to tighten both sides evenly, you know. So you'll see me go from one to the other. Alright, that's getting pretty tight. It's feeling very nice. Okay. I see that starting to pinch those pipes real nice. One more for good measure. All right. Sweet. Now I'll just throw an exhaust clamp up on the front and then make our final adjustments here on the rear before we clamp that one. All right, front feels good, so now just for the rear. Well, and so I'm gonna kind of grab that tailpipe from the rear and pull it up a little bit into the spot that I want now that I've somewhat put a little tension on this. All right, so we've got it exactly where we want it. So now we'll just tighten this in place, and that will kind of hold our tailpipe right in the money spot. I think that's the one, kids. That is the one. Let's check it out from the outside and see what our position of the tailpipe looks like now after we have cinched it all down. Getting old. 32 years old, and boy, just can't quite climb under the trucks like I used to. All right, so let's look here. So we're just right snugged up to that body as we can be. There's still, you know, 3/8 of an inch there, but that's kind of exactly where we're gonna want it, since we do have a body lift that we're gonna do. So now that we are finally finished with our exhaust job, after many headaches, trials, and tribulations, we will now start our pickup truck and see what it sounds like. Well, and that should be it. Gosh, finally. Usually it's not such a headache, but you know, when you buy the wrong parts, and you know, that always slows down the process. But So yeah, not too much to it, you know, it's really just cutting that out, getting a piece of pipe in there that's the right size you need. The right size of pipe definitely helps. So, and we got a little bit of volume to our truck, so now it kind of sounds the part. Now we just need to get it looking the part by doing all of our lifts, throwing on our different lights, accessories, you know, our big 35-inch tires. So super exciting. We got the first thing done, so now we're just waiting for parts. So probably in a week or so, maybe not even, you'll start to see this truck come together. So like the video if this like the video if this helped you out, subscribe if you want to see more, and until next time guys, have a great night.